Hello and welcome to another episode of the Battle Inside podcast. My name is Chris America, and this is my podcast that's documenting, journaling, following, hopefully inspiring, helping me. It's inspired me. It's been a long road. I started this thing a few days after April 6th. I'm not sure when the first episode, I think it was April 11th was when the first episode was recorded and dropped. And it's been quite a journey. If you've been listening to all 4 episodes, this is now the 5th episode. If this is your first episode, feel free to continue to listen, but also go back and start from the beginning. It is in kind of a chronological order of my healing, my desire to finally recognize, take over, and conquer my mental illnesses. I suffer from depression and anxiety disorder, among other things like traumas that have happened to me and of sexual abuse as a child and father that wasn't there. So I'm just kind of documenting it for myself to kind of give my own self-therapy of just talking it out behind a mic where other people will listen, but I don't have to face them. I'm not good at talking to people face to face. Usually when I try to talk to people, I like text messaging better because it's easier. As an empath, I kind of read people, so I hate reading people while I'm trying to spill my guts and share my story or share my pain because I don't want to see it in somebody else's face, and I don't want to be worried about what they're thinking. I just like to get it out. So I figured what better way to get it out than behind the mic. I'm very comfortable behind a mic. I've always been that way. I enjoy it. I do the sports radio show. I've done hosting trivia in the past. Believe it or not, long time ago, way back in the day in high school, I wanted to be a minister of some sort. So I've done some public speaking there, giving out sermons and stuff. I was a 18-year-old high school kid giving out a sermon at my church one day long ago, but we're here now. I'm 35, and it's been a long journey for me to get to this point where I'm opening up. I just want to say first and foremost, before I get started, at no point in my history have I ever gone and got a doctorate or a psychology degree or anything that qualifies me to be an expert in mental health, mental illness, and anything of the sort. So with that being said, I finally did it at the beginning of the show. Normally I forget, but I actually wrote down in the notes. Make sure you say this at the beginning. I'm not anything. I'm just a guy giving you his perspective on how I'm dealing with my mental illnesses and my struggles with trauma and how it's affected my life, giving you my perspective on that. So anything you hear is just my opinion, my perspective, what I'm doing for me. Hopefully it inspires you to want to address your issues. Hopefully it inspires you to want to change. Hopefully, if you don't have any mental illnesses, if you're not somebody who's had childhood trauma, if you are blessed with that kind of life and you just want to understand what it's like, you want to try to get rid of the stigma within your mind, help you try to understand. I've had several friends tell me like they just don't get it. They don't understand how a guy with a kid who's healthy and happy and loves him to death can consider suicide. Less than a month ago, April 26th, so that was 23 days ago. So not even, just barely over 3 weeks ago. What drives the madness and the craziness? And so I'm also doing this for people who don't have mental illnesses and people who don't have childhood traumas to hopefully end the stigma, hopefully understand. I did it this way where I'm doing it kind of live, kind of as it's going on. Because one, I forget a lot. I forget a lot of that's happened. So this is kind of to help me document it as we go. And so we can see it. You can feel it. You can watch it transform right before your eyes. And hopefully I'm doing a good job doing that so far through these 5 episodes. I saw a post from a friend who's reached out to me, and she went through her struggles and her ordeal 3 years ago with the things that were going on in her personal life. And she wrote this really awesome post about how she's doing so much better now, how she's completely healed, how she's continuing to heal, even some of those wounds. Because I don't know if you ever completely heal. I think this is a work in progress. It's something that you have to daily work at, kind of like an addiction, I guess. They say you're never done being an addict. There's no such thing as a former addict. You're always an addict. You just have to work at it. I think mental health and those types of struggles, it's an ongoing ordeal. But she shared this post, and it was a long post, and I still feel like reading her story, reading what she talked about, how she lost a whole bunch of weight because she wasn't eating, her hair was falling out, those kind of things. Even though like she was mentioning these things, it doesn't, it captures it, but it doesn't, because I was able to read that whole thing in 5 minutes, and that's it. It's done. Maybe probably less than 5 minutes. I'm not that slow of a reader, but you get the point. It took me just a few minutes to read her post and to look through her pictures of how she's transformed and everything. And sometimes I feel like that long struggle, like you say 6 months and it rolls off the tongue. When you live 6 months in anguish and pain and torture and mental anguish, and you work 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years at overcoming the struggle, you just say it and rolls off the tongue and then it's done. It doesn't really, for me, it doesn't capture the essence of the struggle, of the pain. So that's kind of another reason why I decided to do my podcast this way, is to let you experience it with me. And I'm trying to be as candid as possible. I'm trying to be as open as possible. But some of it's hard because it has to deal with other people in my life, my ex, family members, friends. So I'm trying to make this about me and my mental illness and not so much about them. But sometimes I have to bring it in to explain more, and so that you can get the full gist of it. So with that being said, give you guys a little update about what's been going on with me. It's been since Easter. Easter was my last recording. So it is now Monday, August 29th. It's been a week and a day, 8 days since my last recording, and it's been an up and down. Actually, I said it's been a down and up. I left off that I was feeling depressed on that Easter. I went, swam in the pool, helped out a little bit, but not that much. I was depressed all Easter. Just Easter was just not a good day for me. Monday, I can't really remember what happened Monday, so it must have been just a regular day of just depression and stuff. But Tuesday was a big day for me. It wasn't a good day. My anxiety finally got the best of me. It was running rampant through my mind. I could not stop the negative thoughts. I could not stop the feeling of hurt, the feeling of pain, the feeling of anger. I reached out to the friend that I just told you about. I reached out to another friend. They did their best to help me, but just none of it was working. Listening to music, breathing heavily. I'm getting anxious just thinking about it and talking about it. What anxiety is for me is it's an extreme sense of feeling and repetitive thought. And when I feel those feelings, they're so extreme and so intense that I get a headache, that my brain literally just is repeating. And my brain does a loop with what's going on in my life. If you don't know, I'm going through a divorce or a split up, whatever you want to call it. But my wife decided to leave me at the beginning of April. She decided she was done, did not see it coming. And so my brain just plays out every single detail by the second about how the great weekend that we had before she decided she was done, and then all of the choices she has made from that day until now. And it just plays in a loop. And there's things I can't talk about, and there's things I can talk about, but it just plays on a loop in my brain, and I cannot make it stop, or at least I couldn't on Tuesday. It was just Tuesday was hell. And so when nothing worked, I decided to just ride the wave. Just ride it out. Don't do anything. Just do your job. Think the thoughts. Think the negativity. And this is when just everything comes out. I'm worthless. I'm a piece of you know what. I am a nobody. Nobody will ever want to be with me. I don't want to. Nobody's ever going to love me. This person said she did, and now she's gone. And she's just a long line of people who've done that to you. And it sucked. Again, like I'm just thinking about that Tuesday, and just now I'm bringing up all those feelings that I had Tuesday. I felt rude to my friends. Not rude. I wasn't rude. It just felt that way. Because when you are feeling worthless, now you're thinking, oh, now I'm being a burden to these other people. And I apologized to every one of them. And each of them told me not to feel sorry or not to be sorry, that they're there for me and everything. And it's really awesome. And so I tried going to the gym. The gym kind of helped. I opened up to another person that I didn't think I'd ever open up to. This podcast and me being open and honest and candid about what I'm going through has done wonders for me. For the longest time, I would be the type that keeps to himself. Mine, like, I don't want my business out there, and I would just struggle through things alone with maybe one or two friends kind of knowing what's going on with me, but not to the extent of this, nowhere near the extent of this. And so it's brought out a lot of people that I never expected to reach out to me, that I didn't even know cared, and they did. And so this other person reached out to me, and I sort of opened up to them, and it helped. And so after Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pretty much every day, I started getting hope. I started being able to build myself back up, and I started distracting myself with things, started going about my life, meeting some new people, getting to know them, talking with old friends, becoming myself again. I said at the very first episode that I am a happy-go-lucky, fun-loving guy. I'm starting to become that guy again. And it's scary because I don't want to give myself false hope. I don't want to tell myself I'm turning the corner or anything like that, but I feel like I am. And I feel like I need to embrace it. I feel like I need to run with it, and it hasn't been perfect. I told my therapist, I had a therapy session on Friday, that the same thing, that I'm scared, and she just said, you just got to push through it. You gotta shake off these last few bouts of anxiety and depression that are at least related to the situation that I'm in right now. I'm obviously always going to have anxiety and always going to have depression, and that's the other thing that's been eye-opening about this experience and finally addressing my problems is I'm finally figuring out ways to cope and deal with it rather than just not know what's going on. I told you with my anxiety that it's whatever feeling or emotion I'm having, it becomes so intensified. And I realized that even though I'm a happy, fun-go-lucky guy, there have been times where I've regretfully had such high anxiety that I'm screaming and shouting at my wife or my son. And I just thought it was just me holding in anger, and then it's finally boiling out. And I should have addressed that sooner. And one of these episodes it's going to be about regrets. Maybe that'll be my next episode, where I can go over all of my regrets and how I need to let them go and just do better for the future. But had I had known that was anxiety building up, I feel like I should have been able to say, or I would have been able to say, can we just put this conversation on pause? I need a break. My anxiety is getting the best of me, and I don't want it to get the best of me. So can we just please put it on pause? And hopefully the person that I'm with will be able to understand and show compassion and just put it on pause, and hopefully we'll be able to address it when I've come down from the anxiety, come down from that rush of emotion that I can no longer control. That rush of emotion that I can't stop. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop it. grabs a hold of me, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then I'm also now able to recognize when I'm depressed. Before, I just wrote it off as just you're having a bad day, you're stressed out, you're tired, you're this, you're that. And so now I'm able to recognize it and do something about it. Yesterday, wasn't feeling it yesterday. I watched the Avengers Endgame movie, and maybe it was because I was depressed that I just wasn't that. I wouldn't say I wasn't that impressed. I thought it was a great movie. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It just didn't live up to my expectations. And maybe that's just the depression talking. Maybe that's what that was. I just, for whatever reason, and it was no particular thoughts. Yes, I'm still depressed about my split up and losing my family and everything, but it was just an overall depression. It was just an overall feeling. So finally, towards the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out. So I did a leg workout, worked really hard at the gym, and the endorphins started to kick in, and I felt really, really, really good about myself. I finally had self-confidence, and I finally got to do that thing that my therapist told me to do, to start telling myself in the mirror that, you know, you love yourself, that self-love thing. Now, this has been a struggle for me, self-love, because I've always had a negative connotation or a negative thought about self-love. And a lot of us do this, right? I'm not the only one who looks at self-love and thinks it's kind of hokey. It's kind of like, oh, who tells themselves they love themselves in the mirror? And when people tell me to start self-loving myself, start telling myself that, Chris, you're an awesome guy, telling myself that I'm a good person, I love me, I love you, Chris, like all that self-love, this is what I hear. This is what my mind goes to when people tell me to love on myself.
I deserve good things. I am entitled to my share of happiness. I refuse to beat myself up. I am an attractive person. I am fun to be with.
Daily Affirmation with Stuart Smalley.
I'm going to do a terrific show today, and I'm going to help people because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Yeah, that's where my mind goes when people tell me to love yourself, Chris, is I feel like I have to be like Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live. And I feel like inside of me, I just don't have that in me. I'm just too negative. I'm too, I don't know. What is the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic. That I think it's, like, again, it's a negative thing when people tell me to do that. So I've been practicing that. I've been practicing on loving myself. I've been practicing telling other people good things about myself or things that I'm working on that I'm proud of. I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm proud that I've pushed through this and I'm doing this podcast and I'm opening myself up and I'm helping other people. People are still reaching out to me, telling me how much this podcast has inspired them, helped them, those kinds of things. And now I'm starting to believe in myself. I'm believing that this podcast can become something bigger than my wildest imagination. And I'm obviously going to need lots of help in this, just like I needed help on, doing my healing and everything else and getting myself back up. I needed the village to help me out. I needed my tribe. I need my tribe and I need my village and I need you to help me make this podcast big. So if this has inspired you and this has helped you out in any way, or you think there's somebody who may need to listen to this, share it with them, please. Share it on your social media. Share it with them through a text message. Send them the link. Do whatever you can to help me make this thing big, because that's what I want to do. I'm now having a positive outlook on things, and I want to keep that positive outlook. So I want this thing to be big. I want this thing to turn into something that I can do and help out, as many people, thousands, hundreds of thousands. I don't know, man. I'm starting to believe that I can dream big and that I can make this big dream come true. So that's where I'm at now. That's where I'm at, or I've been this last week. So that's a little update. And now I want to get into what I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, one more thing. Last update. At the therapy that I had, I started talking to my therapist about EMDR, That's hold on, I gotta look it up again. Let me Google it real quick. What does I know it's eye movement disassociation something. EMDR. Let's see what it says. EMDR. What is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing? See, I was close. Kind of knew what it was. And it's a therapy that helps you tap into your traumas, things that happen to you in your life, and hopefully, from what my understanding is, reorganize them in your brain and file them correctly to where they don't really affect you much anymore. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting that right, but that's just what my understanding is, and I'm excited to do it. Even though everyone said it's really, really intense, it's going to tap into some things that you have pushed down for a really, really long time, and I know that's me, but I'm ready to get over with. I'm ready to heal, and I'm ready to do it. So, so I've mentioned several times what I do with these types of situations where I'm going through hurt or going through a split up in a relationship. I go after other women to help me find self-value. I drink a lot to help me numb the pain. And then when all that's said and done, and I'm finally out of the woods, and I'm finally where that time has not healed me, because I'm not doing anything to actually heal me. Time does not heal all wounds. It takes everything else to heal all wounds. Time just helps. Time just distance yourself from it to where you can actually work on it a little bit easier, more and more each day. So time doesn't heal all wounds. Time just distances you from the incident that occurred that makes you feel that way, and it kind of distances your memory and it distances your thoughts. I feel like time really, for me, fills my brain with new thoughts and new experiences and new things, to where the thought and the memory and the association with that past is diluted, but it's not gone. So I would never do anything to actually heal myself. And then what else I would do is I would build a wall. And this is whether you have a mental illness or not. This is something that I think a lot of us do. And a lot of us feel like this is the best way to not only get over something, but also to protect ourselves from this happening to us again, is we build the wall. And one of my favorite bands is Pink Floyd, and they have an album called The Wall, and it's about this very thing. It's about a guy who lost his dad, was abused by teachers, had an overbearing mother, had lots of things happen to him, and so he built a wall. And of course, you know, the song goes, all in all, you're just another brick in the wall. And so he builds it, and he builds it, and he builds it, and it affects his life. It affects his relationships. He turns to drugs to numb the pain. He turns to all these other different things, and his life is miserable. It's a miserable life behind the wall. And so this is what I do. I build walls, and brick by brick. My dad, huge brick, probably the first one. My childhood trauma, huge brick right there. Just build it up. My first marriage, I was 19 in the Coast Guard, met her in boot camp. Believe it or not, I actually waited until I was married to have sex. Like I said, I at one point wanted to be a minister, and that was a big deal to me. And I thought I had found the one, and she was it. We got married very fast because we were young, dumb, and stupid, and in the military, and so that's what we did. And then 2 months later, she decided that this was a mistake, and she was right. It was a mistake. And she divorced me, and that sent me into my first spiral of suicidal thoughts and my first spiral of depression. And then I got diagnosed with situational depression and situational anxiety when I should have been diagnosed with regular depression and regular anxiety. It's just these situations amplifies it to the extreme. Anyways, but that's neither here nor there. And so obviously I was crushed. I waited till I was married. I thought I was going to be with one woman the rest of my life. That was my belief. That was what I wanted for myself. And I didn't get that. And so she's another brick. And I already had a pretty big wall up then. And so then I met Little America's mom, and we were together for several years, and it wasn't a good relationship, mostly on my part, because I didn't take care of any of my stuff because of the wall and everything. And so that ended. And I went into another relationship after that. It was 2 years. Didn't work out. So there's another brick, another person that didn't fight for me, didn't want me enough to work things out. And then another relationship that didn't work out either. And then I get to my current wife, whom I met 3 years ago, a little more than 3 years ago. And I came into the relationship with all my baggage, and I came into my relationship with my wall held high. And this time, I wasn't going to let it happen to me. I wasn't going to let another relationship destroy me. I came in with a lot of pride, a huge ego, and a huge wall. And this is where I messed up in the relationship. This is where I am at fault. For lack of better words, I made her work for it. I told her right out the gate that I really liked her, but I didn't want a relationship. I told her right out the gate that I never wanted to get married. I didn't want to have kids. Like, I just didn't want to be where I'm at today. And I was deathly afraid of being there. And because I didn't actually heal my wounds, and I just had this wall and these huge Band-Aids, I had the wall against her, and I took all of my baggage and I put it onto her, and I've since apologized for that recently. I know how hard that was for her, but she took it on, and she told me she wasn't going anywhere, and she told me I wasn't going to be able to get rid of her that easily, and I, for the majority of our relationship, had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, ready to go at any moment's notice, ready to run away whenever I felt like I was going to get hurt or I was going to be unhappy. Because that was one of the biggest things about my relationship with Little America's mom, is that I was just unhappy for so long, and I never wanted an unhappy relationship again. I never wanted to be trapped in another unhappy relationship. And little did I know how toxic and how stupid that thought process was until now. But so slowly, though, through time and through just having her there, always there, through every fight, every heartache, every struggle that her and I had, she proved to me that she wasn't going anywhere. And so I let the wall down. And then last October, we started talking about getting married. We were approaching 3 years. We didn't want to make a big deal about it. We didn't want to have a huge wedding, but we loved each other a lot. And I didn't really need a piece of paper to prove my love to her, but it would have made our lives easier to be married. With insurance and those benefits that come with being married. And we loved each other. And so I liked the idea of getting married. And I wanted to get married, but I was scared. And so I told her I was scared. And I told her that I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. And I let her know from the very beginning, I am scared of getting hurt. I am scared of letting you in. I am scared of what will happen if you leave me. And like she always did for the last 3 years, she assured me, Chris, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this for the long haul. I love you. I love our family. This is what I want for the rest of my life. I'm always going to work at this. You're not going to get rid of me that easily. Those kinds of things. So on January 9th of this year, approaching 4 months ago, we got married. We just went down to the courthouse. We dressed up a little bit. It was good. I mean, it wasn't your typical wedding. I get it. And now I wish that we would have had a good wedding. I don't know. Anyways, but that's what we did. We got married on January 9th, 2019. And now I'm here. Not even 3 months after that, she's done. And people ask me all the time, Was there signs? I mean, did I see things that we really needed to work on, we really needed to get help for? Yes, but there was never a sign that this was going to happen. Like I said, the weekend before she said she was done, I felt we had an amazing weekend. And things were really, really good. Life is hard. I mean, we have 2 kids. They're both from other relationships. They're both on different schedules. So there was a lot of there's a lot of stress and just a lot of life that went on, but it's just life, man. Like, that's what you do. Sometimes it's not going to be all roses and sunshine all the time, but it was never to a point where I thought, man, she's going to leave me soon, or I'm going to leave her soon. And so now this happens, and I wouldn't have gotten married unless I tore my wall down. I took my wall completely down for her. I gave myself over to her. I told her that I loved her, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before multiple times. This is the first relationship since my first marriage that I felt like was never going to end, that this was it, that she was the one, that I'm going to grow old with this person. Other relationships I've always seen an end. I've always seen how it's going to end, why it's going to end, everything else like that. But this one I didn't. This one I believed wholeheartedly. It took me a while to get there. It really did. But once I got there, that was it. I let down my walls, and I was ready to just make this thing work. And when I got married for the 3rd time, that's what I was committing to. I was committing to making this work for the long haul, that I am now 2 feet in the door. I am all in on this relationship. And then the person who said for 3 years, I'm not going anywhere, I'm committed, I love you, you're the world to me, I can't imagine my life without you, and if you want to get rid of me, it's going to be hard to get rid of me. Finally, she's done. And there was no thought process. There was hardly any time. It took 1 whole week for it to happen, for her to make the decision. 1 whole week. And no, let's get help. No, I'm going to get help. No, you go get help. It's just, I'm done. You're not it for me. I want more. And I'm over you. And she's been that way ever since. Just talking about a wall. She put up a huge wall against me. I can't get in. Nothing I say, nothing I do, none of my hurt matters to her right now. And sorry, I'm getting anxious just talking about it. And that's not what this episode's about. So now I'm the guy who's been married 3 times. Now I'm the guy that has not 1 marriage, but 2 marriages that that didn't last longer than 3 months. And I am a failure. And so now you start seeing the worthlessness come in. And so now I'm tempted to build the wall. I'm tempted to do it again because that's the easy way out. I'm tempted to say that, see what happens, Chris? Like, you were right this whole time. You thought that she would screw you over just like everybody else. You knew not to trust her. You knew not to give her your heart. You knew not to get close to her, and yet you did it anyways. And now look at you. Now look at what you've become. You're another nobody to somebody else. You're a nothing. You are a POS. You are nothing. Somebody got close to you again. Somebody let you love on them, let you care for them, let you hold them, let you give your whole entire being to them, and they said, it's not good enough, Chris. Look at you. Now build that wall up again and never let anybody in again. Become your dad, because that's what my dad did. My dad, he went through a hard life. He didn't have an easy life for the most part. I mean, he did once he grew up, but from what I understand is that my grandfather was very abusive, and I guess that abuse he never overcame. And so he built his wall and he drank, and when he got divorced from his first wife, he drank some more, and then he met my mom, and they had their rocky marriage, and he still had his wall up and his drinking and everything else, and so they got divorced, and so he just decided to keep building the wall higher and higher and higher, and it left him with one of the most miserable lives I could ever imagine, which is just him alone, homeless in a tent, dying of cancer. And I don't want that life for me. And I don't want a life where I'm untrusting of people. I want a happy life. I want a healthy life. I want to be in a relationship that is healthy. I want to be in a relationship with somebody that is strong and willing to work out everything with me, but I need to be the best man that I can be to make it a healthy relationship. And I can't have walls, and I can't have baggage. So that's why I'm doing this podcast, and that's what I'm doing now. So I've refused to build the wall. I can't say that I've refused to not go into anger or hatred or resentment. I'm trying to balance these feelings out because I do know that they're healthy to have and to express, but I can't live there. I can't let them overcome me. I'm trying to find peaceful resolve, and this is difficult for me because if I don't have an apology, it's hard for me to forgive. It's a struggle, and I think that's true for a lot of us. Part of the reason why, and I told my therapist this, is if you say you're sorry to me, I and it's sincere, I will forgive you, honestly. Unless you, like, murder or harm my child or somebody I love, like, there's really not much you can do to me that I can't forgive you for if you come to me with a sincere apology. And I think the reason why I mentally hold on to apologies so much, so like with her, I've desperately begged her to just apologize. You don't have to take me back. You don't have to say you want to work on things. I just need an apology for how things went down, how you treated me, how you broke all of these promises, how you did all these things to me. I just want you to recognize my hurt and recognize what you did to me. So in a way that I can release my guilt and I can release my worthlessness, that even though people tell me like it's all on her, it's all her fault, like she's not making good choices, she's not making good decisions, it doesn't matter how many people tell me that, I still feel like it's my fault. I'm the reason why she left. She told me all the reasons why she left, and it was all my fault, all my doing. And if I get that apology, I get released from that. It's almost like my get out of jail card. I'm in this prison, and if she would just come to me and apologize and say, Chris, I made a lot of mistakes that really hurt you, and I should have handled it better, and I'm sorry. I feel like that would be my get out of jail free card of my worthlessness prison, because she would validate me and also recognize me as a person again, recognize me as somebody that she's been with for 3 years again. But chances are that's never going to happen for me. So now I need to find another way to heal. And I talked about it last episode with having acceptance and finding that positive healing. Doing things like yesterday where I'm working out and I'm feeling good about myself and I'm feeling like $1,000,000. And so when I think about her and things that she did, I can realize that this is all on her, that this is all something that she's going through, something that she needs to figure out on her own. And I am worth it. I didn't deserve anything that happened to me. I didn't deserve a single ounce of pain or heartache or any of that stuff. And so I need to come to that acceptance. So if you've listened to The Wall, you know that it's not a typical album. It's a rock opera. It's a concept album. I don't know what the lingo is, but there's a storyline to it. And like I'd mentioned, it's about this guy who went through all these pains and built a wall and had a miserable life. And at the end of the album, there's a song called the Trial. And it just goes through all of the bad things that he did and how the wall that he built destroyed his marriages and hurt all of his relationships and made him have a crappy life. And so at the end, like I said, the song's called The Trial, and at the end, the judge speaks, and I'm going to give you the last verse of the song. It basically says that the evidence before the court is uncontrovertible. There is no need for the jersey to retire. In all my years of judging, I have never heard before of someone more deserving of the full penalty of law. The way you made them suffer, your exquisite wife and mother, fills me with the urge to defecate. Since, my friend, you have revealed your deepest fears, I sentence you to be exposed before your peers. Tear down the wall. And when I was thinking about what my next podcast was going to be about, and I knew it was going to be about my walls and how I build them to help protect myself, I decided to listen to this album. It's one of my favorite albums. It's one of the positive things that I've gotten from my dad. Pink Floyd was one of his favorite bands, if not the favorite band. I have actually a Dark Side of the Moon vinyl record of his, among several other things. But so I listened to it, and I heard that last part. Since you, my friend, you have revealed your deepest fears, I sentence you to be exposed before your peers. It hit me because I'm doing this podcast, and I sort of sentenced myself to that. And it's just one of those things where you listen to a song and there's a lyric that just kind of hits your life. We've all been there, right? Just a lyric where you're like, damn, that's me right now. That is speaking to my situation. And I sentenced myself to this podcast, to be exposed. This is my deepest fear, to be exposed, to have my feelings out in the open and have my pain and my struggles and everything out in the open. And so here I am. This is my punishment. Or in another instance, or another thought process or perspective, this is my rehabilitation. A lot of people see prison as a punishment, but some other people with more optimistic views like to view it as rehabilitating you for society. And so instead of viewing this as my prison of punishment, I'm going to view this as my prison of rehabilitation, rehabilitating my life, rehabilitating who I am as a man, rehabilitating my worthlessness, rehabilitating my self-love, rehabilitating my anxiety, rehabilitating my depression, and overcoming all of these things. So yeah, that's where I'm at. You are my jury, you are my peers, and this podcast is exposing me. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. That's the end of this episode. I do want to say a few things. I wish I would have gotten help sooner. I wish I would have addressed my depression and anxiety. I don't know that it would have saved my marriage, but I feel like it probably would have helped. Maybe. I don't know. But if you feel like you're just having a bad day that you can't explain and you get them all the time, or if you feel like you have emotions that run so high, or just something just doesn't feel right, don't be like me. You don't have to wait until you're suicidal to get help. You don't have to wait until your life is in shambles to get help. I wish I would have been able to get help and cope with these things and find these things in a place of love and a place of peace and a place of relationship to where I had support, of immediate support like a wife. Instead of doing it now where I'm alone and I'm miserable and I'm going through an extreme amount of pain and sorrow and grief and just loss. Get help now. Same with your marriages out there. I'm not a marriage counselor and I'm not going to give much relationship advice, but if your marriage is going through or your relationship's going through some struggles, don't just let it sit and build and just end up where I am today. Go get help. Get marriage counseling. Be open to it. Find ways to make it work because you guys fell in love with each other for a reason. But all right, I'll get off of that horse right now. And if you are extreme, if you're at the extreme that I was at, you got some resources here. You can go to the National Suicide Hotline, which I'm pulling it up right now. I always forget to pull it up before I start the show. I should start doing that. You can go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. That's suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Or you can call them directly. Their phone number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. Or you can go to the suicide.org if you're international, if you're in Canada, Jamaica, Brazil, wherever, Fiji. Go to suicide.org. That'll give you all of the international websites. There's a whole bunch of links for all the different countries. They don't have every single country in the world, but all the major ones. You can go to there, or you can go to crisistextline.org. Crisistextline.org, and there's a text line there. You can text home to 741. If you're feeling suicidal, if you're feeling like this is it, nothing's going to get better, I promise you it will get better. It has for me. It's slow. It's arduous. It's painful. It's mind-numbingly just makes you want to run your car into a wall. But it's worth it. And you're worth it. And I'm starting to believe that I'm worth it. And so start over. As hard as that sounds, start over. If you end things, you're going to stop it from getting worse, but you're also going to stop it from getting better. So reach out. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to me on my Twitter. You can either go to at the Chris America. That's my personal Chris America. That's where I do my sports, most of my sports tweets and stuff. But you can still hit me up there at the Chris America or at Battle Inside Pod, at Battle Inside Pod. Reach out to me. Or you can reach out to at Memphis Spence. He's another person that is a sports podcaster, but he always mentions that if you need help to reach out to him, he's a good person to reach out to. But all in all, I thought it was a good show. I thought I nailed it. And I think that you're going to nail this day. I think this day is going to get better for you. I think your life's going to get better for you. And you're going to work as hard as I did to overcome these things. You are going to get better. We're going to get better together. And if you're not in a place where you're that way and you have somebody that is, just tell them the same thing. Tell them, like, life goes on and we will get better. That's the end of this episode. I'm glad I finally am starting to turn a corner and that I'm able to give you a little bit more cheerful Chris America. Anyways, that's the end of this show. Have a great rest of your day or night or whatever time it is that you're listening to this podcast. I'll see you on the next episode of the Battle Inside Podcast.